Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to do an updated character guide on Sephiroth. He just got his FR. Now my guides are getting out a little bit later than usual because I just got back from a vacation, but we're going to be pumping out a lot of videos this week. So let's go ahead and take a look at Sephiroth. If you're not familiar with Sephiroth, he's pretty much like a straight up damage dealer. Like, he just does a crap ton of damage. He has some other unique mechanics in his kit. A really cool debuff, so we're going to talk about that in the character guide. So we're going to look at his best spheres, his artifacts, and we're going to look at his calls. So we will start with the calls. His calls aren't anything too crazy notable. I guess the best thing about his calls is either call when summoned, he is going to put his cellular erosion debuff on, which is a gold frame debuff. So the thing that's cool about gold frame debuffs is the enemies cannot get rid of them in any way, so they're going to be stuck there. The debuff is going to be a 10% sap and a brave damage taken up, which is pretty solid, right? But otherwise, like, his calls are pretty much damage. Like, Octaslap is just damage, right? It does lower the enemy speed. And then the LD, once again, will just put the debuff on and does a lot of damage. So nothing too crazy, right? It just keeps the cellular erosion up. So they're pretty much just damage calls, so I really don't know that I would use Sephiroth a ton for that, right? When we look at Sephiroth himself here, we're going to start with the artifacts. With Sephiroth, what you want to do is you want to do attack 108 and one winged angel boost. One winged angel boost is going to be 5% to all stats, so you always want that if a character has it. And then we want to do attack 108 to help his damage because he is a damage dealer. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and look at the spheres. There's a lot of options. He's a triple A sphere character, right? So that's your indication that he is a damage dealer, because A is like the damage dealer slot, and he's got triple of that. Pretty much you want to focus on attack and brave damage with Sephiroth. I would say a really notable one for him is Edgar. Edgar's is ridiculously good on him. It's one of the better brave damage spheres in the game, and it's a debuff trigger, and Sephiroth applies a gold debuff, so like you're guaranteed to get this because the enemies can't wipe the debuffs off. So it's a very, very good one to have on Sephiroth. Now this one is repeatable, so if you wanted to go crazy, you could just throw 3 of these on Sephiroth, give him 30% more brave damage up. His cellular erosion is already giving 30% brave damage up, so if you have triple Edgar, he's getting 60% brave damage up, and he does a lot of brave hits, so that would not be the worst way to build Sephiroth for sure. Very, very good there. I just kind of did some throw-ins for mine. I do like Jack because it is an attack, brave damage up. So if you have the full Jack spheres, it's going to do 5% for each, which is pretty decent. Jax is also repeatable, so you could just throw a bunch of Jacks on there. You could throw a bunch of Edgars on there. Sephiroth's own sphere, as I mentioned earlier, is a very good sphere. Definitely, if you get copies of his EX Extra, save them, because his sphere is one of the best ones. It's an attack, max brave up, and it just... all it requires is that you start the fight with full HP, which you always will. So it's a very, very good sphere indeed. So you can build Sephiroth however you want, but just as you're putting A slots on, make sure you're getting brave damage and attack as much as possible, right? All right, so that's what I've kind of done for my build there. And with that, we can just hop into the showcase. My Sephiroth is fully decked out. Max Ultimate Weapon, blue armor. We've got everything on. So let's see what our boy's looking like here with his rework. We'll just say this right now. He's doing a lot of damage. He's going to be doing a lot of damage. One notable thing, too, about Sephiroth, we don't really need a friend unit here. Because of his BT effect, which we'll talk about, but it basically will always reset the enemy's brave to 1. He pairs really well with characters that like breaking or like to break. So Dorgan is a really good partner for Sephiroth. You'll see Dorgan and Sephiroth a lot. And then, of course, he pairs well with Ida because Ida also gets free turns on break. And Ida Roth is kind of like a meme, right? Like, it's a way you can cheese fights. So if you want to cheese fights, you can do Ida Roth. Basically, you can do an infinite loop combo where Ida will constantly break the enemies over and over and over again until they're dead. So, and you can do that with Sephiroth. But we're going to do just like a traditional showcase here. Just look at Sephiroth in a normal situation, not trying to abuse the break mechanic or anything like that, right? So we'll have Core go ahead and put his buff on Sephiroth. Okay, and sure, we'll do the EX. And yeah, let's just get a look. So the big thing that's notable about Sephiroth's rework is that all of his attacks do a ton of dumps. I think 7 dumps is the least he gets on an attack, and I think some of them do like 10 to even 12 dumps. It's crazy how much damage he's going to be doing. Aerith is just going, well, let's do this. Oh, something notable we are going to talk about the Rydia Call, because Rydia Call is actually kind of notable for Sephiroth. So let me just go ahead and put Holy on. I'll kind of mention it right now while I'm thinking about it. So one of Sephiroth's FR conditions is having a stacking buff, which is like a Roman numeral buff or something like that. Sometimes overheads will count for this. But if you're not sure, you can bring Rydia Call. Rydia's Call, it puts an evasion buff on all the characters, but it is a stacking Roman numeral buff. So if you're going in the Sephiroth FR and you're not sure if your characters qualify for the FR condition, you can just pop a Rydia Call before you go in it, and then every character will have a Roman numeral buff on, which is a really nice way to handle that, right? So with Sephiroth, let's just go ahead and start tackling the normal attacks. So the main thing with Fervent Blow and Octaslash, this is the 15 and 35. Think of Fervent Blow is like your AoE attack. So if you have 3 targets, that's usually the better button to press. But if you're 2 or less targets, Octaslash is usually your preferred button. It's going to do a lot of damage. But let's go ahead and hit Fervent Blow from the start here. See how much damage this does. Okay. Yeah, dude, he just did 1.7 mil with like a mil to the other enemy on just pressing his 15, which is pretty dang good. We'll let these enemies attack through here. So Fervent Blow is just the big AoE attack you saw there. It gives him the Genova buff, and he gets 2 stacks of it. So that's going to max out the stacks, because it starts out at 3, it maxes at 5. So Genova is already maxed out, which is really good. It's going to do an enemy speed down, and then it is going to do a speed up, an attack up, and a max brave up to himself, and the numbers go up based on the stack. So he just gets a lot of good buffs. You want to make sure you upkeep that Genova. If it falls off and you lose the stacks, then you have to restack it, so you don't want that to fall off. The thing is Genova is going to also be on the 35, so you're always going to upkeep that. So speaking of that, let's do the 35, which is Octaslash. So let's go ahead and hit this button. This one should hit pretty dang hard. This is more single target oriented. Dude, 2.6 million? Like, no force time. We have, what, 1 BT effect up. That's just pressing his 35 with, like, no percentage or nothing. Like, how many characters in the game can just press a 35 and do 2.6 million? That's pretty dang ridiculous. That's really good damage. So this is a 10 HP dumping attack, which is why it does so much damage. And then it does refresh the Genova buff. If he does break, so it gives him 1 stack of Genova, but if he breaks or attacks a broken target, he's going to get 2 stacks. So he's pretty much always going to get 2 stacks on that. So Genova is really easy to upkeep, because you're always, like, 15 and your 35 are going to be kind of your filler buttons. The one notable thing about Fervent Blow that I forgot to mention, let me just do this here. We're going to force charge a little bit. Fervent Blow does have high turn rate, so you sometimes, if you click and hold on it, you sometimes can steal an extra turn with it. So that is something notable about Fervent Blow. If you want to try to get extra turns with Sephiroth, you might be able to get that, right? And I'll demonstrate that on his next turn. Let me just heal up a couple more times here. I don't know if I want to go FR like immediately, so we might stop there, and let's just do a Fury Brand. Oh, I probably should get my Raijin Call on too, just to make sure. But we will do Rydia Call before we go into Force Time. And as you can see there, we do have the gold debuff on the enemies. It comes from the LD, but he does put it on at quest start. So we got to get BT effect up with Core. And there's Raijin, so let's throw that down. Okay. Perfect. And then let's go ahead and pop the BT. Now we have Sephiroth with more BT effects, and he doesn't even have his own BT effect up. So, dude, his Octaslash is probably, with like triple BT effects, probably hitting like 3 million base, which is insane for just doing a 35. Like, he does have crazy damage. By the way, I have pre-recorded a damage test on him. I'm going to get that out later as well. And he was very impressive. We'll just put it that way. I have an Aranea damage test for you guys as well. So we'll be getting stuff out. Things are kind of busy after getting back from a little bit of a vacation, right? So Sephiroth, now let's go ahead and let's show the LD, which is Scintilla. So let's pop that. This should do pretty good damage as well. Yeah, 2.5 mil AoE. Pretty dang good for an LD. We'll definitely take that. So Scintilla just does the big AoE attack. It puts the gold debuff down for 8 turns. So you see that got refreshed on the enemies for 8 turns. He gets a buff called Bringer of Despair. And that is also a stacking buff. And Bringer of Despair does max out at 5 stacks. It's an HP damage up, and then an attack, max brave, an eye brave, and an overflow gained up. So he gets like every stat from it, and brave stolen up. And then the stacks of this will increase every time he acts. So we're just building up those stacks as we do actions, right? So now I think we're ready to pretty much go into force time, huh? I think we are. Because we just have to get his BT effect up, which we can do that like right at the beginning. So we'll go ahead and get our force ready. And I think we are going to get Rydia Call on as well. So let's see, is that on Aerith here? Yep, let's go and get... So the Rydia Call is going to ensure our entire party has a stacking buff, which is going to help Sephiroth's FR, because we do want to show off his FR. His won't always be the best one to use, but it's a fairly easy trigger, especially if you use this Rydia strat, right? Let's go ahead. Yeah, we should be ready. So we'll do Seal Evil. That'll be a good thing to throw down. In core now... What I think I'm going to do is I could put Oath of Absolute Defense on Aerith, but I feel like I need to refresh it on Sephiroth, because Sephiroth is the important one here. So we are going to go ahead and reapply Oath to Sephiroth. And then if I get another turn with Core, we'll reapply it to Aerith as well. But we've got to get that 8-turn Oath down. Alright, and what I'm going to do with Sephiroth is we'll pop FR, and then we'll do BT on his next turn after that. Now, let me just show you Fervent Blow here. So you can see where Sephiroth's next turn is supposed to be. Sometimes Fervent Blow will jump the turns. So if I click and hold on it, okay, it didn't in this instance, but sometimes it will. And with high turn rate, it's kind of hit or miss whether you'll actually get it. But, yes, let's go ahead and do the FR, which is black. Oh, we have to show the EX as well. We haven't gotten that yet, but we'll get there. So let's do the FR. This is called Black Conflict. Alright, see what the damage looks like on this bad boy. And our boy Garland along for the ride. Alright, so yeah, about 2.5 mil, so pretty standard damage. Like, very good though, right? So let's talk about the FR condition. So Black Conflict, it does gravity them down to 0 when we do the attack. It's a big AoE attack as we saw there. It does put down the gold debuff for 8 turns again. Party HP damage, so during the force time, dude, it's a party HP damage 50% up, so you're just getting that passively. That's strong, dude. 50% HP damage up is really good. And then the HP damage condition, so one is just to attack a debuffed enemy 40%. So free and easy, especially with Sephiroth. I mean, most characters, like, you're going to have a debuff anyways, but the fact that he has a gold one means, like, it's always going to be there. So that 40% is 100% free. And then you just have to have a stacking buff or effect on your own turn, which if you have Rydia Call on, that is also free, and it's for everybody. So it's a very easy going 80% FR. It's a very, very nice FR to echo with. And here's what you're going to see with Aerith. So to attack a debuffed enemy, like the first 40%, you actually have to do an attack. But having a stacking buff doesn't require an attack. So watch, Aerith here, she can do her non-attacking echo, and this is going to echo very good on Sephiroth, because she has a stacking buff. So we're good to go, and we're going to get a really nice gain here. So yeah, a fat 123%. So Aerith is going to double echo to go crazy here. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to try to get Sephiroth's BT effect up and then get into hopefully one more turn. Yeah, get into one more turn and then just do like a Sephiroth burst phase, right? So Aerith now, I actually have to go light here. It's kind of crazy, but we're beating these enemies down quite quickly. So there you can see Aerith got the full 80%. That was 83% we got there. Sephiroth, we do want the BT effect up. So let's go ahead and do Heaven's Light. And hope we don't kill these enemies too quickly. We just want to get one more Sephiroth turn here. I mean, who knows? Maybe I don't have to do the actual BT phase. We just have to try to see Sephiroth's attacks. But he can do some crazy damage. Alright, so that did very good damage there. So the BT effect. So the big thing is always after any action, the enemy's Brave gets reset to 1. So see that right there? In between, they reset to 1, and then Core went in and broke them when we actually stole the turn. Which is kind of crazy, right? So it's going to reset the enemy's Brave to 1. It's going to be an attack up, a Brave gain up, a Brave damage limit up, and an HP damage limit up. And Sephiroth actually gets a bigger gain. So the HP damage limit up is 30% for the party, but Sephiroth gets 100%. So dude's going to be hitting hard, right? Core, I guess we will echo, and hopefully we'll echo. And then Aerith, I'm probably going to do like a non-damaging attack, and then we'll have to get into a Sephiroth burst phase. These enemies are going to die so ridiculously fast. And I know I probably just need to use like a newer stage for showcasing. I'm just so comfortable with this stage, so... And I know the enemies don't mess with me too bad. Alright, so we should be okay here, I think. Yeah, broke him back to Aerith. Aerith has got to do a non-damaging attack here. So we are just going to do a brave attack. We should still get the gains. Yup. And then we just got to get Sephiroth turn here. So, and see with Core how busted it is? Like, the enemies just can't get a turn. Core keeps jumping up and breaking them back, and we keep stealing turns. Let's do a Sephiroth burst phase while these enemies are clinging to life. And then we can do the EX. So let's do the EX, which is Black Materia. This is going to do a full gravity on the enemies, which can be handy, right? Oof. So yeah, dude, 26 million. That was at 700 something percent. So the EX, it breaks all the enemies too, which is really good. It is a good instant break that you can have, right? He does get a free ability use on his next turn, and it does give him the reunion buff for 6 turns, and he gets 3 stacks of it. So the reunion buff is a Max Brave and Brave regen up. So Sephiroth has 3 stacking buffs. All right, so we got that going. And then other than that, we've seen everything, right? So yeah, now we can just hit buttons, and let's just look at the mad damage. So let's do the LD here. So 30 mil there, single, on the one target. Let's go ahead and let's do Fervent Blow. I want to do Octaslash at a higher percent, just so Octaslash is going to do some insane damage. 27 mil there. All right, so we're pretty much at max gauge. Let's look at what an Octaslash does at pretty much a max gauge here. Not to mention you're breaking and pushing the enemies back. So, dude, 43 million. And that's without launching. Pretty crazy. Trust me, we got a damage test. We're going to see some good numbers on this guy. We'll do the FR now. Bringing out the boy Garland again. $29, so about 30 mil there. So I mean, this dude's doing like 30 mil on every button pretty much when we're at a max gauge, which is pretty crazy. I guess we'll do an HP attack plus, sure. Yeah, that one's definitely much weaker. I would say you really don't need to use the HP plus with him unless you're desperate for longevity, but pretty much in today's game, you don't really have to press HP pluses. The only time you press them are for characters that have like ridiculous ones with their BT effect, like Yuffie or like Machina. Like those are the only time you really use HP pluses these days. Alright, so there we just did like on the showcase 220 million, with mostly being just one target during the burst phase. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of this monster, but he's an absolute behemoth of a damage dealer. I think he's fantastic. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.